Welcome to the Frequency Labyrinth. I am Adrienne McDonald, your host. This podcast is for you if you're done with surface level self-help and ready for something deeper and actually transformative. Around here, we work with ancient wisdom, human design, gene keys, and shamanic practices, not as knowledge to collect, but as tools to live by. This isn't about one size fits all. It's about learning to work with your energy, your design, and your life. This is about integration and embodiment. We go deep here with ancient wisdom, practical integration, so that you can develop ironclad self-trust. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back. Grab a cozy beverage and let's get into it. I feel like today's episode's a bit of a threshold moment because we are almost through half the year and we've been through a lot of shifts in the cosmic sky. And I want to take a look at what's stirring in the energetic map right now and what's coming up with some of the transits and where it's going to hit you. So the sun is wrapping up in gate 35, which is the gate of change, and it's moving into gate 45, the gate of the gatherer, later tomorrow. And Jupiter, that big bold planet of expansion and abundance, is about to slip into Cancer on Monday. And listen, if you've been craving change or feeling like you're chasing something, anything, just to feel alive, that's been pretty common in the collective. You're not scattered, you're just think of it as an initiation. So let's break this down. So we've been moving through gate 35, which is the gate of change, the one that craves experience and adventure and the next thing. And listen, I love a good pivot as much as anyone. Change is part of how we grow. However, gate 35 doesn't just bring opportunity. It also surfaces, or it can surface a deeper level pattern. And I feel like one of these patterns is almost an epidemic in our world, because the shadow here is hunger, and not the nourishing kind of hunger. It's the kind of hunger that's rooted in like emptiness. It's that soul level ache, and I feel like so many people have that soul level ache. They're thinking maybe this next thing will finally make me feel whole. Maybe this teacher, that program, that this relationship, this rebrand is going to fix things. And if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. This is the type of a compulsive kind of hunger, the kind that has us, flailing for novelty, for just for novelty's sake. New identities, wanting to be in a different timeline. I hear that one a lot. I'm not even sure where that means. I immediately go to Loki in that Marvel series, but hey, that's me. People wanting to take new personas on. And sometimes when we do all of these things, we tell ourselves we're evolving. However, sometimes it's just another flavor of escapism. And gate 35 in its shadow isn't just personal. It is very cultural. We live in a society that runs on craving attention, craving validation, craving certainty. And it's sneaky because this hunger can wear a lot of different outfits. It can sound like ambition. It can sound like expansion. It can sound like growth. But when it's coming from pressure, not presence, it becomes performative. There's no meaningfulness behind it. And the performance of evolution is not the same as true transformation. And you can chase 1,000 pivots. You can rebrand your life in every quarter, during every quarter. You can fill your calendar with quote-unquote soul work and still feel very hollow. And I know because I've tried this. sometimes real growth doesn't come from more experience. It comes from how deeply you let the experience you're in shape you, and how much presence you bring into the moment rather than leaping to the next thing. As Richard Rudd writes in Gene Keys 35, it's not about experience for experience's sake. It's about letting each encounter, each cycle, become a doorway into more depth. And that's when you unlock the gift of adventure. And I feel like part of what he's trying to say there is you also have to honor the season that you're in. And adventure, this kind of adventure, doesn't need adrenaline, it needs presence. And there's a very big difference between chasing the adrenaline and the dopamine and leaning into the presence, because it's not about necessarily stimulation. It more feels like devotion and nourishment. And I believe that this is one of the biggest reasons that people don't live their full true selves, because a true self isn't born from hustle. It's born from stillness. It's born from rootedness. It's born from it's born from that, like, developing that deep self-trust. But when you're running on hunger, trust is really hard to access. So instead of anchoring into your own energy, in your own rhythm, in your own seasons, in your own cycle, you stay in a loop. You spiral. You may go sign up for the next thing. You say yes when you don't really mean yes. You keep chasing. And it's not because you're broken. It's because your nervous system has been trained to equate stillness sometimes with danger. And that's what the shadow of this gate feeds on, is that fake urgency. The urgency to fix, to find, to quote unquote finally get it right. And what you have to realize with this is, if the craving is rooted in fear, the experience will never satisfy. But if the desire is born out of meaningfulness and truth, then presence itself will sometimes be the reward. So tomorrow, this drops on Friday, the gate is going to shift, and it shifts into the gate of the gatherer, gate 45. And as the sun shifts into gate 45, the energy moves from craving experience to sort of confronting what we do with it. And it's a throat gate, it's a power gate. It's also a tribal gate, if I'm not mistaken. It speaks for the collective. It decides on how resources are distributed. And when it's distorted, it becomes, the shadow is dominance. And sometimes that dominance is dressed up as leadership. In its shadow, the voice says, I lead because I have money, I have a following, I have a mic, I am the authority. This is the, once again, performative leadership model that a lot of us have that they try to sell us, one that says that material success equals some sort of a hierarchy of some, it just sort of feeds into that energy. And gate 45 in its low expression plays out in a lot of manipulation, toxic community building tactics. This is where your spiritual gurus are born. And people mistaking audience size for integrity. And the last couple of weeks in the spiritual community, we've seen a lot of a lack of integrity, with some bigger influences causing a lot of stirs. But in its gift frequency, as Richard Rudd names it, the Gate 45 becomes synergy, and it no longer hoards resources, it orchestrates them. It doesn't try to lead alone, it leads by listening. And in its acidic state, it becomes communion, where the lines between self and others dissolve, and leadership is more stewardship. And from a shamanic standpoint, if I'm looking at this, it's sort of the archetype of the ritual steward. It's not the hero at the front, but the one that holds the containers so everyone can rise. And this feels like tending the fire type energy, the one who nourishes the flame, not necessarily for their own ego, but so others can see by it. It's the quiet. It's the wanting to tend to the fire so everyone can benefit. And in wanting everything to be wired for collective well-being. But if you're trapped in survival mode, in inner scarcity, or in old leadership conditioning, if you will, you're not being a steward. You're scrambling. So I think that when this gate is activated, or if you have this in your chart, a question is, am I trying to lead from fear of not enough? Am I performing synergy when secretly clutching control? And the Gate 45 connects to Gate 21. And I have Gate 21 in my chart, and that's the other end of this channel. And the channel is called the money, I think it's called the money line, the channel of the money line. A lot of people just call it the channel of money. And what I really would like this channel to be called is the channel of sacred reciprocity, because I think that that's like the highest expression of it, because it can be an invitation to rewire your relationship with control. Like Gate 21 manages resources, Gate 45 distributes, and together they ask, how do you hold that influence and power, not from a clenched fist, but from like a rooted place of wanting to contribute back to collective in a positive way. And I think that when Gate 45 is activated over this next week, we can think about that, regardless if you have 21 or not. It's what is your relationship with power? And is it coming from that clenched fist or that open hand? Now, Jupiter is moving into Cancer on Monday. Jupiter is big and bold, and it's exalted in Cancer. So everybody in the astrological community has been looking forward to this transit for quite some time. Now, we're not talking just about a mood shift. Like, let's talk about this from an archetypal standpoint, from a mythic reorientation. Jupiter in Cancer definitely does not give swagger energy. It's like sanctuary energy. When I wrote my newsletter for this month, I talked about the theme of this month is nourishment. And in archetypal astrology, Liz Green connects Jupiter to the archetype of king, the one that blesses and expands and sets the tone for the kingdom. In Cancer, the king's domain isn't the battlefield, it's the battlefield or the boardroom. It's the home, it's the hearth, it's the lineage, it's the inner sanctum, which is why I think I equated the entire month was like that whole nourishment type theme. Jupiter as a sacred protector, the one that says growth is happening through care, through continuity, through emotional rootedness. And Green also reminds us that Jupiter in Cancer can show up both as the wise, nurturing archetype and also the smothering father. So we need to ask, are we expanding our emotional intelligence, or are we inflating our emotional defenses? A lot of times when you see out there the memes and whatnot, it's like, oh, Jupiter's going to Cancer, so we're, going to have money raining from the sky, and you're going to get the promotion at work, and yada, yada, yada. And I would caution you around that. The last time Jupiter was in this placement in my chart, I ended up getting, that's when I left corporate through a corporate merger and engineering my layoff, etc. So there was an expansion, but it doesn't mean that there's not some growth opportunities during that as well, right? This transit invites a different kind of abundance, one that's measured in all areas of your life. It's about tending to what sustains you over the long haul, not quick wins, not necessarily rapid growth. Especially when, over the next week, when we're pairing it with Gate 45, we've got a call to lead, not by dominating, but by devotion, to grow, not by necessarily reaching further, but maybe rooting deeper and asking, what spaces am I creating for my own deeper level of self-trust? Where have I confused control with care? What does it mean to maybe nourish and protect without feeling like you want to possess something or someone? And in your own life, Jupiter in Cancer might highlight where your inner child still seeks sanctuary, where maybe you need to cultivate the inner elder a little bit more, because that is what needs to be the sanctuary instead of trying to look for something external. And Jupiter's going to be here for a year, so we've got time in this space. And right now it's leaving Gemini. So I'm going to tell you where this is leaving your astrological chart and what the themes are there, so you can sort of reflect on what's happened over the past year in that particular area of your chart and where it's moving to. So, and again, this is just, okay, think about what's happened for the themes, and then I'm going to give maybe a reflective question on what you can be thinking about for the new area of chart that's moving in. And again, this is not about prediction. This is about pattern recognition. These are invitations, not necessarily instructions. So if you do not know what your rising sign is, I invite you to go to astro.com and pull up your birth chart and get your rising sign. So for Aries rising, Jupiter has been in your third house of communication and learning and siblings and tech. And now it will be entering your fourth house of home, family, roots, ancestral healing. And as it moves in, a question that you can ask is, what kind of home am I creating within and without? As above, so below. This is internally and externally. Taurus rising, it's been in your second house of money and values and self-worth, and it's moving into your third house of your using your voice, your storytelling, your message, your local environment, meaning anything that you are around all the time, all day. And you may ask yourself, where am I being called to speak more from a rooted, truthful place and not silencing my voice? Then Gemini rising, Jupiter is just moved through your first house of self-identity and body and visibility, and now it's entering in your second house of money, values, earned income, self-trust. And a good question is, am I honoring what I truly value or just performing success? Now, Cancer risings. Hello, all you fellow Cancer risings out there. Jupiter is moving from our 12th house of our subconscious things in the background in our internal world into our first house of personal growth, embodiment, new cycle activation. And a reflective question is, who am I becoming when I stop hiding the real me? The first house is all about personal identity, and it's also about the physical body. And then for Leo rising, it's moving from the 11th house, which is community, visibility, long-term goals, into the 12th house, which is rest, retreat. Again, that behind-the-scenes inner world. And for you, where am I being asked to unplug, listen, and surrender? I will say that as someone who's coming out of the Jupiter's coming out of the 12th house, there's a lot of like spiritual recalibration that happens, or that seems to be a theme that I've seen with other people that have had Jupiter in the 12th house in the past year, because I know a lot of Cancer risings. So Leos, that's something that you'll probably be experiencing. Virgo rising, you're moving from the 10th house, which is career, public identity, leadership, and Jupiter's moving into your 11th house, which is allies, community vision, collaborations. It's your outwardly facing community people, your network. So a good question is, who am I building with? And does it feel reciprocal? And then Libra risings, it's moving from your 9th house of teaching, publishing, big ideas, spiritual studies, into your 10th house of career, visibility, legacy. So you could ask, what does feel soul aligned? What does soul aligned success really look like for me? And if you're Libra rising, you probably will notice more opportunity in your career now that Jupiter is moving into your 10th house. So then Scorpio, from the 8th house, which is shadow work, intimacy, joint resources, into the 9th house of expansion, faith, new paradigms. Also, the 9th house also has a little bit of behind the scenes as well. Again, there's a lot of spiritual studies I associate with the 9th house. And I think that for Scorpio risings, the question is, where is life asking me to leap and trust the landing? Which I know is going to be hard for Scorpios, right? It's hard for all of us, but I feel like the Scorpios that I know are a little bit more hesitant to do that. Sagittarius rising. You're moving from the 7th house of relationships, contracts, dynamics with others, into the 8th house of depth, intimacy, power dynamics, energy exchange. What parts of myself am I afraid to share because they feel like too much? And that's something that Jupiter is going to really help you with reconciling. Because I do feel like a lot of Sag people get told that they're too much. And that's not true. And then Capricorn rising, you're moving from the 6th house of work, wellness, daily structure, into the 7th house of relationships and mirrored growth and sacred agreements and soul contracts. And ask, who reflects back the version of me I'm growing into? And I feel like the I feel like that relationships may deepen significantly for Capricorn risings during this time, because I think there might be a reevaluation of I'm not here for this surface level BS anymore. So, Aquarius risings from the 5th, creativity, pleasure, visibility, children. That's where Jupiter's it's moving into the 6th house of service, structure, work, your daily devotional things. And a good question is, what does sustainable care for myself and others actually look like? Like, what are your daily practices that will really nourish you? That's what's going to be the focus for you. And then last, Pisces rising. It's moving from your 4th house of home and ancestry and emotional safety into the 5th house of joy, creativity, expression, soul fire. And I think Pisces are going to be asked what wants to be created from a place of wholeness. And Pisces they've had a lot going on the past couple of years. So I feel like a lot of the Pisces risings that I know have been feeling this urge to create. And I think that's as Jupiter's moving into that 5th house, it's just going to be explosive what they come up with. It's going to be next level. Now, again, this shift isn't about hustle to optimize your life. It's about recognizing what wants to be tended to and what kind of nourishment actually wants to grow from you. So again, reflect where that Jupiter's moving out of and what you've learned there as far as expansion and nourishment what themes are coming out of that house, and then what the focus is going to be for the next year with the new house that it's moving in. Now, to wrap up this entire episode, a few reflective questions as we're currently in the transit that we're in for gate 35 and moving into 45. What am I hungry for right now? And is it truly nourishing? 2, where have I been invited to move from chasing to tending? And what I feel like the most important question is over the next month is, where can I be in grounded reciprocity? I think that a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this, especially if you're a people pleaser, is you get into these relationships or obligations, if you will, where you're giving, and nothing's coming back. Or you may turn around and go, wow, I'm not giving enough here, right? So where can I be in grounded reciprocity? That's something that I want you to think about over the next week. So, if this episode stirred something in you and you're feeling the shift to doing more, to being truer, you can check out the Human Design Energetic Blueprint. I will put a link in the show notes, and that gives you a deep dive into your own human design with your type and your strategy and your authority and practical ways of embodying your design more, as well as a spotlight on your gifts with the channels, etc. Or you can book a Kairos session if you have a zeroed in topic that you need assistance with, or a human design reading, and I will put that link in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening, and remember to find beauty every day and seek the magic in the mundane. Thanks for tuning in today. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest. Let whatever landed move through you in whatever way it needs to or wants to. And also, if you want to explore more, you'll find more information in the show notes. If this episode stirred something in you, please share it out or leave a quick review. It helps so much, and I really appreciate it. And remember, this work is about integration, and it always starts with self-trust.